Okay, good morning. Namaskar to everybody. So Saturday, Vivekachudamani day. So let's do our Vedic prayers first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto Ma Sadgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityur Ma Amritam Gamya. ओम सहना भवतु सहना भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति 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 ओम. Let's open our books on verse number 225. There are several terms in this verse indicating consciousness, or you can say these are the arrows pointed out by this great rishi that what is Brahma, what is this consciousness. Okay, they have been repeated many times throughout the scripture. Why they are repeated by this great rishi? Because correct knowledge of these terms can help us meditate on them better. There's a purpose for repetition. So that's why I want to go through all of them again today in detail with you. So let's look at verse number 225. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Vishuddham Param Swata Siddhim Nitye Anand Ek Rasam Pratyak Abhinnam Nirantaram Jayati. Satyam means truth or existence, or the absolute reality. Jnanam, knowledge. Anantam, infinite. Brahma, the absolute. Vishuddham, extremely pure. Param is supreme. Swata siddham, self-existing, self-established or self-independent. Nitya Anand Ek Rasam. Nitya is eternal. Anand Ek Rasam, indivisible bliss. So Anand is the bliss, Ek Rasam, indivisible. Ek Rasam, it's the same, homogeneous. Pratyak Abhinnam, not different from one's self. Nirantar, ever. Jayati, victorious. So Shankaracharya ji is saying Brahma is Satya Gyan Anant, existence, knowledge, and absolute. Or you can say Sat Chit Anand, that is Brahma. Extremely pure, transcendental, self-existing, eternal, indivisible bliss. And then he says, not essentially different from the Atma, the self. And with no differences within or without. It is ever victorious. So that's why I told you earlier, these are the terms indicating Brahma. That's why I said we can meditate upon these or do meditation with the help of these. So let's look at the very first word, Satya. Satya is which remains the same in 3 periods of time. past, present, and future. That's Satya. Okay. So we know that nothing else remains the same. Nothing else in this Prakriti, nothing can. Because the nature of the Prakriti is to change. Only thing which remains the same in always, in all times, is Brahma. So that is Satya. Jnanam, knowledge. That consciousness, because of which all other knowledges are possible. That's Jnana. So it's not a knowledge of a thing, it's knowledge itself. Without Atma, mind cannot function, intellect cannot function. So the real knowledge is what? The real Jnana is what? Me. Okay? Anant, endless. Endless because it is eternal and because it is the truth. Endless because it is without any beginning and with no end. That's what Arjun saw in the Virat Roop. He said, I don't see any beginning, I don't see any end, I don't see the middle. You are everywhere. That was the Virat Roop. So Satya, Jnanam, Ananta, Brahma. That's how the Upanishads, they define the truth. The true knowledge, which is permanent, endless, functions in the intellect as the knowing principle. That is the supreme reality. And it serves only as one blazing consciousness all the time. Vishuddham, extremely pure. Because once we transcend this Prakriti, Prakriti is called, it's like a dirt, the vasanas. When we reach to that dirt-free, the vasana-free place, then we have a subjective experience. So subjective application, that's why he used the word Vishuddham. A person without any vasanas. Otherwise, as long as we have even a causal body, vasanas are there. In a physical body, it keeps on changing. Mal produces there. In the mind, there are a lot of agitations produced there. It's not Vishuddha. Vishuddha is only the Atma and Brahma. Param. Param. When the body, mind, intellect, we transcend. When we transcend all these equipments, there's no perceiver, there's no thinker, there's no doer. We call that Param, supreme. Infinite consciousness alone. That's the only thing, Param. One without a second, that's Param. See, a par is lower, par is higher. Then Swata Siddham, self-existing. No instrument is necessary to know this. Swata Siddham. It is known by itself. It is self-effulgent. See, if we have a light bulb, it's not self-effulgent. We need the electricity going through it. When we burn a candle, to light the candle, for that light, you need the wax. Even the diya which we light in the temple, we have to keep adding the oil into it. Swata Siddham. Brahma is, there's no other power, giving power to Brahma. Swata Siddham. And even to know this knowledge, no other knowledge is necessary. Then a person thinks that why are we studying? We are studying all this because we want to remove all the vasanas. That's essentially what this great Rishi is telling us. Okay? It's not by learning this, we'll know. By learning, we will know where we need to go. Nitya Anand Ek Rasa. So the nature of Brahma is said to be the essence of bliss absolute. It is of the essence of bliss. The essence of bliss transcends even any other kind of joy. Because normally we think, oh, I'm getting a bliss out of being with somebody. But this bliss transcends any other joy or bliss. Because the bliss that because we use these terms in our ordinary language also. So that ordinary experience in the middle of the object, that is not ek rasa. Okay? Because it's not homogeneous. Today we might feel it, tomorrow we won't. You really find some place you get a bliss. After a few days, when you stay there, you won't feel the same bliss. It's not ek rasa. Or you like to eat something, or you like to be with somebody. We all know that it depletes after a while. Okay, but Brahma, it's a ek rasa. So bliss of Brahma is of one essence. It's like a continuous experience. It doesn't change. And pratyak abhinnam, not different from the individual soul. Lord Krishna also said the same thing. We are the ansh, part of that whole. So there's no difference. It's just like if you go to the ocean and you grab some water from there, essentially it's the same thing. It's a part, but same thing. The elements of that water will be the same. That's why people even go to the Ganges. What do? They just fill up bottles or they fill up cans. They say it's the same water. We call it a Ganga Jal. Okay, so not different from the individual soul. So Brahma is not anything other than the self. It is very Atma. And then last term he is using Jayati, ever victorious. It wins victories over all other layers of matter. Are all other layers of matter, he explained it to us. The terminology he used, Anmay Kosh, Pranmay Kosh, Manomay Kosh, Vigyanmay Kosh, Anandmay Kosh. So he said all these layers, it is a Jayati. It's bigger, better, victorious. Because other layers do perish, they do decay, they do go up and down. But this does not. Okay, so beautiful verse. You can just understand the term by term, but essentially these terms are taking you towards Brahma or the Atma. Let's look at number 226. Sat idam param advaitvam swasamat anyasya vastunah abhavat nahi anyat asti kinchit samyak parmarth tattva bodh dashayam. Sat means real. Idam means this. Param advaitvam, absolute oneness. See, dvait means duality too. Advait means one. Swasamat, than the self. Anyasya of other. Vastuna of anything. Abhavat because of absence. Na means not. He means truly. Anyat other. Asti means is. Kinchit anything. Samyak complete. Parmarth tattva bodh dashayam, in the state of realization of the supreme truth. Okay, so Parmarth tattva. This absolute oneness alone is real. Okay, oneness. Oneness of what? Oneness of the Atma with the Brahma. So this absolute oneness alone is real. Since there is nothing other than the self, truly there's no other independent entity in the state of realization of the supreme truth. So the reality which is of the nature of the pure knowledge is supreme most, non-dual, and there is no otherness. No otherness. Because distinctions such as experiences or experienced are not possible in it. It's just one. Okay? Because when you realize the higher plane of consciousness, the lower planes and their objects are transcended. All those experiences, you know that. You transcended those. That was not the real thing. The real thing is oneness. That's why it's called samadhi also. Okay, so these are the different terms these rishis have used to, because in the language you really cannot put it, ultimately it has to be experienced. So he's saying it's non-dual because it's one own self. It is in that moment there is a total absence of anything. Total absence. Because you remember that student asked this question, I don't find anything. If I negate all these 5 koshas, I don't find anything. And this is he's trying to explain. What you find is that absolute bliss. What you find is the oneness. It's not a shunya. It's not a void. It is the absolute bliss. Because there's only one infinite Brahma. So in the moment of realization, this supreme most essence is complete. Complete in itself, with itself, and there's nothing other than it. Then further he tries to explain, because this is something hard to explain with the words, no matter how rich the language is. This is something we all need to experience. Okay. Yat idam saklam vishvam nana rupam pratitam agyanat tat sarvam brahm ev pratyast ashesh bhavna dosham. Yat means that which. Idam means this. Saklam. Jyoti, I need to open the door. Looks like Mike locked himself out. So if you can stop it here, I'll just go.
Go ahead.
So we are in verse number 227. So yad idam, this is like an idiom. That means that which. Vishwam, universe. Nana rupam, diverse forms. Patitam, appearing or appears to be. Agyanat, due to ignorance. Tat means that, Sarvam means all, Brahma, Ev means alone, Pratyast, free from, Ashesh, all. See, Shesh word means when something is remaining. Shesh. Ashesh, complete, all. Bhavna dosham, limitation of thoughts. See, dosh is a defect. So, limitation. So, this entire universe, which because of ignorance appears to be of infinite forms. Okay, so there's so many forms. He says these are all because of ignorance, agyan. Why? Because in fact, he says Brahma alone, which is free from all limitations of thoughts, is it's all one, but our ignorance has divided it into so many forms. Okay, see how beautifully with all these verses, he's taking our mind towards this oneness. Even in a regular relationship, when there's a harmony, love between two people, it seems like a wholesome relationship. But when me and mine comes, then there's a division. And when there's a division, that's the ignorance and that's the flaw. Okay, so the world of polarity with its infinite forms, which we see all around, he says it's perceived because of the non-apprehension of Brahma. Non-apprehension of Brahma. So due to the non-apprehension of Brahma, all misapprehensions of reality, all misapprehension of the pluralistic phenomenal world have arisen. Okay. So it's like he's calling it a flaw of imagination of the mind. When we destroy it, then we can see the truth. You will realize that what you are perceiving is Brahma only. Yeah. Let's look at 228, because sometimes we wonder how we are going to function in this polarity if we keep on seeing this Brahma everywhere. We learn that also, how we function. See, with this kind of a peace within, then wherever we go, we are the torch bearer of that peace. We know how to function. Didn't Lord Krishna function? Lord Ram or all the gurus do? They function in this multiple world. But peacefully they do. Okay? So, Mrit karye bhutaha api mridaha na bhinnaha kumbha asti. Sarvatra tu mrit swarupat na kumbha rupam prithak asti kumbha kutaha mrisha kalpit nam matraha. Mrit karye bhutaha, a modification of clay. Mrit means a clay. Clay. So, and karya bhuta means modification. So, modification of clay. Api means even. Mrida from clay. In bhinnaha. Na bhinnaha. Not different. Okay, na bhinnaha. Kumbh, pot. Asti is sarvatra, everywhere. Tu means indeed. Mrit swarupat, the nature of clay. Na means not, kumbh rupam, the pot form. Prithak, different. Asti means is. Kumbh, pot. Kutaha, where? Why? Mrishaha, false. Kalpit, imagined. Nam matraha, merely a name. Though a pot is a modification of clay, right? It is not any different from it. In essence, the pot is the same everywhere. So why call it a pot? It is merely a false and fancied name. So he's using the example of a clay over here. You can use it for gold also. Any ornament made out of gold is nothing but gold. We can call it an earring or a necklace or a ring or bracelet. It's just a gold. Over a pot, whether it's a sugar pot, milk pot, water pot, who gives the names? According to the use of it, we give the names. But essentially, it's only a clay. So whatever the thing is made up of, though named differently, in essence, nothing but that thing. Only a clay or a mud. Okay. So out of Brahma, this world has come out. This is where he's taking our mind to. All of this. See, when we say that mantra, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, this is what we are saying. All of it, whatever we see, it has come out of Brahma. If we really cannot think about Brahma, but how about anything we have? Where did it come from? The earth. That's why we call it a Mother Earth. Everything. Right? And where did the earth come from? From Brahma. Who created it? Brahma did. And we are fighting over, worrying over what? So out of Brahma, the world has come, and therefore it cannot be anything other than the Brahma. Okay. So at the same time, when we are dealing with the world, we forget that it's Brahma. When we see the world of change, we forget that it is the changeless Brahma everywhere. So even in these changings, we got to remember the changeless. So wherever we see the name, shape, form, remember what it is made up of. Okay, so all this knowledge brings a little peace, unity, oneness. Small things which we worry about. We say, hey, why am I worried about that? Why am I losing sleep over something which is so insignificant? I'm part of Brahma. So this gives peace. Let's look at verse number 229. Kenapi mridhnatyaha swarupam ghatasya samdarshitum na shakate ata ghata kalpitaha ev mohat mrit ev satyam parmartha bhutam. Ken api, by anyone. Mrid bhinatya, something other than the mud. So that means something different from the mud. Mrid bhinatya. Swarupam, the essence. Ghatasya, of a pot. Samdarshitam, to show. Na shakyate, is not possible. Atah means therefore. Ghat means a pot. Kalpitaha, imagined. Ev means only. Mohat, through delusion. Mrit ev, mud alone. Satyam, reality. Paramartha bhutam, abiding. Paramartha bhutam. No one can show by demonstration that the essence of a mud pot is other than the mud. Okay. So just like I said, whether it's a milk pot or a water pot or a sugar pot, a creamer pot, if it's made out of a mud, it's only a mud, clay. Therefore, the pot is merely imagined through delusion. And mud aspect alone is the enduring reality in the mud world. Okay. So essence is that. So he is taking our mind towards the essence of ourself. Essence of us is what? Only the Atma. That's why this is called a dharma also. What is holding us together? It's only the Atma. Once the Atma leaves, it's inert. So a mud pot can never be proved to be anything else but the mud. Okay? No independent existence apart from the mud. It's like if you take the mud out, there's nothing left. Atma taken out, nothing left. Okay? That's why, what do we call this dead body in Hindi? Arthi. Right? Oh, Rathi. Rathi has gone. And who's a Rathi? Who is the charioteer of this body? Or the owner of this body? Rathi. The soul. Okay, soul is gone. It's just nothing. Inert. So the world has no independent existence from Brahma. So pot is a superimposition. Pot is a upadhi, superimposition. That's why this body is a upadhi. Mind is a upadhi. Intellect is a upadhi. Those are just a superimpositions on the reality, which is the Brahma. So the real thing is Brahma. Let's do one more verse, 230. Sad Brahma karyam sakalam sat evam tan matram etat na tataha anyat asti asti itihi ya vaktihi na tasya moha vinirgataha nidhi ritvat prajalapaha. Sad Brahma karyam, the effect of the real. Sad Brahma karyam. So the effect of the real Brahma, you can call it, Sad Brahma karyam, the effect of the real Brahma. Sakalam, entire. Sat means real. Evam das. Tan matram, the essence of that. Etat, this. Na means not. Tataha, then. Anyat, other. Asti is. Asti iti, it is. Ya means who. Vaktihi, says. Na means not. Tasya, his. Moha, delusion. Vinirgataha, has gone. Nidritva, like one in intense sleep. See, like a nidraha, nidritva. Prajwalpaha, talking. So too, the entire universe, being the effect of the real Brahma, can be nothing other than it. So connect this with the previous verse, with the example of the mud, the clay and the clay part. So too, the entire universe, being the effect of the real Brahma, can be nothing other than it. It is of the essence of that, and it cannot exist apart from that. So you take Brahma out, it cannot exist. Just like we take the Atma out, body cannot function. Take the electricity out, the bulb doesn't have light, or the fridge doesn't have the coolness. Essence is out. So too, the entire universe, being the effect of the real Brahma, can be nothing other than it. It is of the essence of that, and it cannot exist apart from that. Anyone who says it does is still under delusion and babbles like one in the deep sleep. So if somebody is just babbling, twaddling in deep sleep, just talking in the deep sleep, you will not believe in them. So he says, this is what, if somebody says it's not a Brahma, that's what they're doing out of ignorance. Because the effect that has arisen from the cause, the Sat, can only be the same Sat. Because the effect is nothing but the cause itself in another form. So in this world, we cannot say that saint is different than a sinner in essence. Okay, it's the same. Essence is the same in a saint also, in a sinner also. Varying degrees of goodness and badness we see in this world. But the power is the same. We can have a very bright light from a bulb, or another bulb can be dim. Or we can have a dark light coming out of a bulb because there has been a dark paper put on top of it. Or we can have a red light because red paper, but the light is the same. The essence is the same in all of them. And that's why he says, if anyone insists that there is something other than Brahma, don't blame him. That's what he's saying actually. He says he's only saying out of delusion. And what is a delusion? Delusion is the vasanas. Because as long as the vasanas exist, so long the mind functions. And mind can function only the duality, Dvait Bhavana. We got to learn how to transcend the mind. Otherwise, we are just only babbling. A man in dream, seeing a dream tiger, cries out in sleep and very afraid of that dream tiger. Somebody will shake him up. Wake up. And when the person is woken up, just by himself he'll understand. It was just a dream tiger. It doesn't have any existence. Same way we are asleep to the supreme state. That this is all Brahma. Because we think we are the body, we think we are the achievements, we think we are the possessions. Our ego is so strong that it makes us believe in that. And Guru comes and shakes us up. And that's what the Shankaracharya is doing. With all these verses, he's shaking us up. Wake up. Know the reality. Know the truth. You are not this. You are just babbling. You are wasting time. You are worried about something which is not even there, just like a dream tiger is not even there. And you are afraid. You are Brahma. Okay, so that's why beautifully he's opening it up for us again and again with these verses, with all these beautiful terms. I would like you to just think deeply into these terms. Meditate upon just one term, maybe at a time. The very first verse which we did, we're so many, so full of all these beautiful terms. Just meditate only that. If I am this, why am I worried? If I am this, how come I don't know myself yet? Why I'm so deluded? Why I'm so worried? I need to wake up. I don't want to stay unconscious. Okay, so let's do the Shanti mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much. So